Welcome to the Behavior Speak podcast. Now, here's your host, Ben Ryman.
Welcome to another episode of the Behavior Speak podcast. Today we're traveling far across the world, 9 hours ahead in time zones to Egypt, where we are chatting with Radwa Eltanab. Radwa, thanks for being on the show.
Hello, Ben. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So excited to chat with you. I think this is definitely the furthest away conversation I've had since we started the podcast. So it's exciting to learn about what's happening in ABA across the world and other side of the planet. And so really excited to have you here. Maybe, Radwa, we can just start by getting a bit of kind of your origin story. So how did you get into the field of ABA and kind of how did you end up being a BCBA in Egypt? So how did it all start for you?
Yes, sure. Let me tell you from the very early beginning. Okay.
Perfect.
First of all, I'm a board certified behavior analyst, and I studied applied behavior analysis first through Florida Institute of Technology. And then after that, I did my master's degree in ABA and autism through the Sage College, New York. And I'm also a mother to an autistic kid. He's 19 years old. And this is where it's all started before. It's because my son has autism and has also other challenges like speech apraxia. That was the beginning. And then when he was diagnosed with autism when he was 2 years old here in Egypt. And then we went to many services here in Egypt, like centers. But by that time, in 2003, the services was very, very limited. There's no ABA, there's no speech therapy, there's nothing. And then I moved to different centers here in Egypt, trying to figure out what to do for my son. And then after that, maybe I found a center here in Egypt. And after that, I heard about wow, in the States, they are doing more than that. They have more therapy over there. They have something called ABE over there. They teach kids more. And then we can see more progress over there. And then we traveled. And maybe we're talking about 2006. And then it was in Miami in Florida. And then I saw how they are working with my kid. They work very hard with my kid. It's so many things, structured things and more natural things. They taught my son so many things, even outside in the community. He was having very bad waiting skills. They taught him to wait. He was taking an intensive therapy over there in one of the centers in Miami. And they trained me to know more and more about ABA. And after that, I became very interested and I started to learn how to work with my son. And they taught me so many things. And then after that, maybe by the beginning of 2010, I started thinking, instead of other people make programs for me to work with my son, how about I study and try to find out something that I can study ABA and have a degree in ABA, and then maybe I can help my son and help other kids as well. And then I started looking and searched, and I asked people there working in the center, and they told me about the Behavior Analyst Certification Board, and I started browsing the website and start navigating and how I can become a board certified behavior analyst. And then I started, and first I joined FIT and I became first a BCABA. And then after that, I continued until I became a BCBA. So this is how it started with my son. And now I'm helping other kids as well.
Wow, that's amazing. So your son was diagnosed at age of 2 in 2003, but there weren't really any services. First off, I'm surprised that I guess not surprised, but interested to know kind of what the whole sort of autism diagnosis sort of scene is like in Egypt. I mean, that you're able to get a diagnosis at the age of 2 sounds like, they seem to have gained some ground in terms of diagnosing.
Yeah, that's a very good question, because by that time also there was a very limited knowledge about autism in Egypt. And I was surprised because the first child psychiatrist that diagnosed my son, she said autism. And to me, by that time in 2003, I didn't know what's autism mean. I didn't know anything about autism. I went to her clinic, me and his father and my son. And then he started sitting on the floor, picking some toys. And I'm talking to the doctor, me and his father. And then she started looking at him. And then after maybe 10 minutes or something, she said he might have autism. And then I told her, what do you mean by autism? She said, her explanation to me, it wasn't perfect. she said that like maybe when he grow up, he becomes a little bit like naive, or like he's not going to be able to live independently, or like solve problems, stuff like that. This is her explanation.
Wow.
It was tough. Yeah, it was very tough for me to hear something like that. And then I
Scary.
told her, yeah, exactly. And then I told her, what are you supposed to do if he does something, and you didn't say like autism, how he's supposed to do it? She said like, he should have come to you, approach you, try to show you one of the toys in his hand, trying to talk to you, trying to talk to his dad. And then she told me these things and make me like, it's clicks to me, you know. Another thing also, because I have older kids, like, but it's not older by very far. Like maybe it's like 1.5 years. And then also I have a daughter like 3 years older from my son. So maybe also their behaviors is different from my autistic kid, you know. So they were engaged, they are speaking, they are interested in toys, they don't do stereotypy behaviors. So maybe this was the red flag for me in early age to check about my son Omar. His name is Omar. So this was the start, yeah. But when she told us about the autism, and then I remember I went back home with my husband, and then I told him, I started this denial phase, you know. No, my son is okay, he's perfect, you know. But the good thing is that it didn't last long. I started to think, what's the next step should be.
So you had no idea what autism was at the time. Why did you go see the psychiatrist in the first place?
Because we asked some friends, we asked people. I didn't know that like which profession we have to go. So maybe this is the profession that we have to go. And then we asked friends. Then they told us, yes, it's the best people who can help you with the speech delay. First, before that, we went also to a speech therapist. Or maybe during at the same time, yeah. When we went to a speech therapist, he's actually a speech doctor. He's a doctor. And then he was doubting about maybe he has a language delay or speech delay. And then what he told me is that he told me like, let's give us like a 2-month, like a limit time to check his, maybe he has a language delay. Maybe if you speak to him more than often, he will acquire more language, he will speak. And then he told me to tag everything when we are doing. Like he's washing hands, I have to say we are washing hands. He's getting dressed, I have to say he's getting dressed. He's doing everything, all the talk, I have to say it out loud. And we check after 2 months if he's like, is it speech delay or anything else? And then after 2 months, we went again to the speech doctor, and he said, no, it's not only a language delay, we have to do further investigation. You know, so at that time, I went to the psychiatrist and I went to the speech doctor.
Gotcha. So it was a speech delay that really triggered you to kind of start investigating what might be going on with Omar.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah. Okay. And also there's something else also when he was like 1.5 years or something, you know, like he has this, when we call him at home and say, Omar, you know, he's not replying. And we start doubting also about his hearing. Maybe he has a problem with hearing. Maybe there's a problem, he can't hear us well. But at the same time, we ruled this out by doing something. He's like, we were sitting in the living room and he's sitting in another room, and he hear in the TV a specific sounds from a show, and then he came very quickly. So we know by this time that, oh, you can hear, but he's like select what are the things that he can respond to versus other things that he's not interested to respond to.
Gotcha. So you were already a scientist before you got into ABA.
My specialization was in business, business administration. I'm graduate. I have a bachelor degree in business, and I was like my career before ABA. It was like the banker. I worked in a bank maybe for 5 years. Yeah, that one. But now I shifted everything because of my son.
Yeah.
Now, yeah.
Totally. Well, I can just see with the sort of testing you were doing at home to see if it was hearing, you know, and kind of comparing the conditions, that you were already a scientist before you started studying ABA. So you were kind of made for this. But having a business degree actually is probably helpful as you're trying to kind of start businesses, start a company, and that sort of thing too, eh?
Yes. Hopefully, yeah. I would love to do that one day.
So you got the diagnosis at age 2, which is, you know, pretty amazing. I mean, considering, you know, how long it sometimes takes to get a diagnosis and that sort of thing. How old was Omar when he started ABA services?
we started the services in Egypt. They were doing ABA, but it was not like, it wasn't like 100% like from what I saw when I traveled to the USA. Maybe they were doing their best, but at the same time, he was like 2.5 years old when we started therapy in Egypt. Yeah, so he received therapy for 2.5 years there. So we moved from Egypt when he's almost 5 years. He's about to be 5 years old.
Okay.
And during this 2.5 years old, 2 years and a half, he received services there. He was receiving one-to-one therapy. He was receiving a group therapy. He was receiving also a speech therapy. And they were using the Hanan program, Hanan program. And, they were very good at some points also, very good, because they started to teach Omar like sign language. It was a Makaton sign language. It's the British way of using the sign. And one of the things also that maybe because Omar wasn't have this way of communication using vocal words, so that's why they started using sign language. This is something good. But what I noticed later on when I started to study ABA and I traveled and they used PECs with him in the United States is that the mistake that they did is, for example, if Omar wants to ask for water, okay, and then he do the sign for water and then he wants more water, so they started to teach him to sign for more. And then to sign for I want or want. So what I learned is it's not right to start teaching kids when they do not have a lot of vocabulary and they do not have a lot of things to meant for. It's not right to teach them to ask for more. It's not right to teach them to say or to ask using sentences like I want, even with the sign language. It's better, and it's always better to teach him. Like when he asks for water, he sign water. When he asks for like chips, he sign chips. When he asks for popcorn, he sign popcorn. So by doing this, he should have a more words to meant for. So this one of the mistakes they did is like taught him to say more. So when Omar comes to me at home and he say more, and then I don't have the item that he wants, and then I'm start asking Omar, more of what, Omar? I don't understand you.
This is a common problem in our field with sort of early communication training, as I think we see this sort of around the world, that folks are teaching kids, to say things like more or please or whatever, but it's not specific enough.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's why after like 2.5 years of working with him intensively, he was going there every day, and we're giving him an intensive program. We don't see that much progress, Yeah. So, maybe this is one of the mistakes. One good thing also happened there. He starts to vocalize some sounds. Before, when he first entered and receives therapy over there was no sounds at all. But the good thing is he started to vocalize some sounds, like these baby sounds like ba, ma, mama, da, stuff like that. So these things, it was good there. Also, one of the things also that I see that it's not that beneficial for Omar is that the group therapy, it was a lot there, or like many times grouping therapy. I think for Omar by that age he needs more one-to-one therapy.
Yes.
Because he needs to work a lot on his too many things he needs to work on, like his mending repertoire, his play skills, he has to have a good foundation before we add in more social things or social group or group therapy. This is one of the things that I noticed that it was better for him to have a more one-to-one more than the group therapy.
So there was definitely a system, at least when Omar got diagnosed, there was some system for intervention for autism and speech, but it wasn't ABA based. It was more kind of speech based.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, they were following. You remember, like the Hanan program, right. More into exactly. Yeah, more into naturalistic playing stuff, more into. But it was okay. But when I started to figure out that, like maybe kids making a good progress when they, or better progress or more advanced progress when they travel to the USA, we decided to take our son and go there.
Okay, and so what did that look like? Where did you go?
I went to Miami, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
There are some some of our friends. They told us about this place, And I went to my friend's house and she told me about everything there because she used to take her daughter before to the same place. By the way, also, it was my first time to travel to the USA. It was like,
Wow.
yeah. I didn't go to the USA before 2006. And then like we contact the owner of the place. She was a BCBA by that time.
Mm-hmm.
And and also she is a speech pathologist. And she was one of the very rare people that they are certified prompt approach. Prompt, I think it's an approach to help kids use their tongue and their mouth, and they press on certain specific things to produce more sounds. So
gotcha.
She was she was one of the very rare people in Miami there, in Florida.
Okay.
And then I contacted the BCAB, and she's also the owner of the center. And then I sent her some videos. She asked for some videos for my son and different things that she wants about him, report and stuff like that. And then we traveled by December 2006. And then they make a comprehensive assessment for him. And they started telling me that he needs an intensive therapy. And they put him on PICS protocol also.
Yep.
Yes. And started from there. We stayed there we stayed there 2 years, but we have to, go out of the US and come back again because of our visa and stuff like that.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
So then from that point, you decided you're going to go back to school and learn some more?
Not from that point. During that time, I learned a lot from Omar, from there in the center. And then we stayed there. I was going there once a week to learn more about how they are doing. And then by the time that we are approaching to go back to our country, because you know what, it's my other kids also, they were in school there, and then my husband was working in another country. So we started to think about, we cannot stay like that, my husband in another country and me with the kids in the US. So we have to do something, and we have to stay together, all together, By that time, my husband was working in Saudi Arabia. And then I asked the lady there, I want to be more trained. I want to learn how to work with Omar alone without anybody, because I have to move to the Saudi Arabia. And also in Saudi Arabia, there was no ABA at all there. There is no ABA. There is no centers for ABA by that time in 2008 or 2008. Yeah. And then my son did a very great progress over there. And then after that, I moved to Saudi Arabia with my kids. And then I was online, seeing the BCABA that she's putting the programs for my son from the center, Miami.
Right.
She was updating me with programs.
Okay.
She's sending me programs. I start preparing the materials. I start working with my son, entering the data on the data sheets, and then send her. And every month she updates me with programs, And then, I stayed like this 2 years till 2010, working with my son there in Saudi Arabia at home.
Amazing.
But by the time my other kids were in school in the mornings. And then what happened? The good thing is also something good happened. Also every summer I went to the USA to give him an intensive also, So take advantage of the summer because it's vacations. So we went there for the summer. And then in the beginning of 2010, there's an ABA department open in one of the centers in Saudi Arabia, in Jeddah. And then I went there, and I gave my son there a therapy from January 2010 till July 2010, until we moved back to Cairo in Egypt. So this was a good experience also. And the founder of this department, she was a BCBA doctoral level. She came there and she established this ABA or department in this center in 2010. Yeah, it was the first ABA department in the whole Saudi Arabia.
Was that Dr. Kelly?
Dr. Susan Ainsley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Dr. Kelly, she's in Emirates.
Ah, yes, right.
Yeah, not in Saudi Arabia.
Okay, so you went to, there was a program now in Saudi, and then you went back to Cairo, and there wasn't anything there, right?
Yeah, there wasn't anything in Cairo, but I started to enroll him in a school, special needs school here when we came back, and then he started in his school. It's the one that he's going there. They take kids up like to 20 something.
Oh, okay.
And then and then the focus in this school for Omar is like more into vocational stuff. They are teaching Omar more into like training about like work related to the, if he wants to be like waiter maybe one day, or if he wants to be like work in a library one day, or like more into vocational computer. He's
Sure.
very smart at computers, yes, and he knows to do a lot of things on the computer and Excel and Word documents. He's so good at that. This is one of the things that for the future I'm thinking about my son. Maybe he can work with his dad in his office and doing computer stuff. Because, when I'm thinking about his future also, because of his speech apraxia, he now types. He can type, he can communicate by words, by typing, by written words more. He's trying to vocalize, but he's not understandable to too many people, So he depends on writing more and more. And he's always using his iPhone and he writes on his notes. So he's so smart at telling what he wants. So
Awesome.
I think the best thing for Omar for his future work is something like for a computer, to enter data, to create graphs, to do stuff like that. And he's so good at that, better than to communicate with other people, because it will be so difficult for other people to understand him if he speaks, And in our culture here, it's so difficult also to communicate most of the time with the writing stuff, with the notes, and send notes to other people to communicate with you. It's so difficult. It's not easy stuff.
If you're planning on collecting continuing education credits for this podcast, you'll need to go to www.cbiconsultants.com and type in the 3 secret words. The first secret word is Egypt. Because of the language is so different?
It's not only the language. Yeah, this is one of the barriers. He's writing in English. He learns in English everything. Because the main language here is it's Arabic. And he writes everything in English. Not only because of the language, but it's easy for people to speak, but it's like until he writes something and hand it to people so people can understand him, and then he return it back and reply. I feel it's a long process.
Yeah, gotcha.
He can do this. Yeah, he can do this with us, his family, his relatives. But when he's going outside in the community, I don't think it's going to be beneficial for him.
Yeah,
or to a certain extent, limited, but not outside in the community.
Gotcha. I mean, you guys have a lot more patience with him, and you're willing to wait for the back and forth, and strangers might not be willing to sort of wait for him to type something, or even understand why they're waiting for him to type something.
Exactly. Yeah. However, he's a very fast typer and everything, but maybe.
So, at what point during this process did you decide that you were going to become a BCBA yourself?
At the point that started, it was 2010. It's by the time this ABA department started in Saudi Arabia. I was in Saudi Arabia. And then I started asking people I know in the center in Miami, how can I start? They told me about the Behavior Analyst Certification Board. And then I started my first course, it was 2010, directly after the break, 2010 in Florida Institute of Technology. And here I started,
Okay. And then what made you decide to go from there to go to SAGE?
Yeah, okay. This was in 2010, okay? And then I became a BCABA. I was the first one to be certified in Egypt in 2016, okay?
Wow.
And then, it was really excited to see Egypt name in the registry and the board. It was something...
I bet.
Yeah, it was really great. I remember my feelings that day. It was amazing. And then I wanted to continue with FIT when I started my master's in 2019. But at that time, in FIT, there was no online program, 100% online program, master's degree program. Yeah, it was a hybrid program, half of it maybe on campus and half of it online. I didn't know if it was possible for me to travel back again to be on campus, So I started to look for online programs, 100% online programs. And I asked Dr. Susan, we're friends, we talk sometimes, and do you recommend any specific universities? And she was the one that recommended to me the SAGE College, because I think one of her students say good things about this university.
Right.
Yeah. And I started my master's degree, studying for my master's by the end of 2016. I finished 2019 because I became certified in May. I completed my master's degree in May 2019, and I became board certified behavior analyst in November 2019.
Wow.
It took me 2.5 years. Yeah, 2.5 years to finish the master's degree and sit for the exam.
And so, were you the first BCBA as well in Egypt?
There was one BCBA in Egypt before that time. Okay, she's an American. She's American, and also there's another one, but she was between Canada and Egypt.
Gotcha. So you're the first Egyptian BCBA.
Yes.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. So you must have you obviously didn't just work with your son at this point. So did you start working with other children?
Yes. Yeah. I started working with other children, and for now I'm an independent practitioner, and I'm focusing on do the parent training. I'm really interested in doing parent training with the kids because we have a huge part here in Egypt also when I go on social media, when I read things, when I meet my parents, the problem with them is that when they take their kids to the centers and then after that their kids go back home and they take their kids outside in the community, we have a huge part here about the generalizations and how the parents started to deal with their kids after therapy and after they finish the center, what they should do and problem behaviors that they are facing them at home. So most of my work before, it was about parent training, and even if the kid wants more intensive, because I'm working as an independent practitioner, I'm working alone, I'm focusing with the parents, I can try to find a therapist, to find an RBT or something, and to teach her to work with the kid, to give more of an hours, I also I also worked. The good thing also I worked on different behaviors. Like one of my clients also she was a girl. She developed some phobia from supermarkets when she passes by like the supermarket fridge and she sees the meat and stuff like that. Yeah, I worked this and it was a very successful also interventions and we did a great job going to the supermarkets together and desensitize her fear towards going to the supermarket with her mom. And also she was eloping and leaving her mom's places and she cannot go with her mom to anywhere. And I worked with this type of behaviors as well. And hopefully the next phase from my life, I hope I have to establish like a small center or something and start training more staff and accepting more kids to work with them in the center.
Amazing.
Hopefully.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Like, how do people find you? How do people come? Like, because you had never heard of ABA when you first kind of got the diagnosis, and you only learned about ABA once you kind of went to the US. How do other parents learn about ABA in Egypt, and how do they find you, and how do they know to kind of get ABA services? Like, how do they know that's an option?
The first thing I did after I became a board certified assistant behavior analyst in 2016, I started to feel that I have a big responsibility towards people here in Egypt. And I started to so what is the best way to reach people? What's the fastest way to reach people? I thought about social media.
Right.
I started making this group. It's called ABA Egypt on Facebook. And then, by now this group, it's reached 9,200 members.
Wow.
So, and then I thought about how about I start to take some concepts and trying to explain these concepts in a very simple way so people becomes more understanding, parents or therapists, because I have a lot of people on this group. They studied education, special education here in Egypt from different universities here in Egypt. And also we have parents. And then after that, I started to do some Zoom meetings to explain to people and parents and tell parents to join. Come, if you have some questions, you can join the Zoom meetings. But of course, I make like a declaration or something. We're not here to treat problem behaviors. We treat to teach you more about ABA and to teach you how to help your son in a better way and how to look to behaviors and how to look to the problem behaviors from an ABA perspective, But at the end, you have to seek a professional help. And I started to do these Zoom meetings. I also started to invite more people to even in the beginning, I started to invite people from BCBAs from the United States, and I started to translate what they are saying into Arabic, so my members in the groups understand, because here also language is a very big barrier, So I invited Professor Andrew Hoovers from Florida Institute of Technology, and he make a presentation about ABA to the members of ABA Egypt. I also invited Dr. Josh Pretzer, and also he talks about peak assessment and curriculum and how important this assessment. And also I invited Dr. John Bailey, and we started talking about ethics. Yeah, it was very interesting also meetings. And there's, I think, 2 or 3 of these meetings, I uploaded them to the ABA Egypt YouTube channel, because most of the meetings I uploaded to the YouTube channel, so people later on, they can access the meetings, and they can access even if they want to know more concepts about ABE in Arabic language.
Right.
So I started taking the concept, explaining it in Arabic, so maybe people they have it as reference there. And thinking about the social media, I think it was a very good idea, because from here people start to think, what is ABE? What ABE does to kids? And then also, when I started to give the RBT training, I found out that more people are very interested about the RBT training, even parents, even if they are not interested in the certification, but they are interested about the content itself, And also, it was, I think this was the most important thing that makes people became more interested. But till now, also, when in other groups, when I go to other groups and see especially the groups specialized for parents, they still, ABE is not like recognized. It's not too much informally recognized, because people, like, they always asking about speech therapy, they always asking about, they call here skill development. They don't, they asking for a therapist that doing something called skill development for their kids. They don't know that ABA, in ABA we do this. ABA, it's not only for problem behaviors,
right?
And we still have this, behavior modification, the old school, and also because of the malpractice from some therapists, because they did not learn about ABA, okay, like BCBAs learn about it, so they still stick to the old school of ABA, getting the child to sit hours and hours on the chair, trying to change behaviors forcibly, So many parents also, they start to see that, this way of changing behavior is aversive to my kid. It's not the best way to change behaviors. So sometimes we try to tell people, this is not the right way. Maybe this was the old school. Now it's not. We have to follow the child lead. We have to see what the child wants to play with first. We have to build rapport with the kids. There's so much into this that we have an updated research and stuff like that. So I think it's not something going to be changed like within weeks or months. I think it take a long time.
Yeah.
I think so.
No, for sure. Okay, a lot of interesting points there. So you kind of started the social media up and kind of really got the word out. So when you had folks like Dr. Pritchard and Dr. Bailey come and do presentations, you would then translate them?
Yeah.
Wow, amazing.
Everything in Arabic.
Amazing. What a resource.
Yeah.
And then,
and but by the way, also I invited Dr. Michael Muller to talk about the IBEO.
Oh yes, of course. Well, yeah,
yes.
Let's save that for a second. We'll talk about that in a minute too, I think.
Sure.
You also said you do, presumably in Arabic, you do RBT training as well. You have a course.
Yes.
That's great. And so, are there a lot of folks now? Are there more BCBAs besides you and that other person now?
Yes, there is. I think we are 5 BCBAs right now. Yes, and 3 or 4 BCABAs.
Wow, that's amazing.
And yeah. The thing is, for the RBT, we have a lot of RBTs, but like when people hear that, we have a lot of RBTs, I mean like 70 or 80 RBTs. So people may become, wow, that's a big number, and that's very good that you have a lot of RBTs. But you know what? In a matter of fact, it's not that good, because most of these people, they do not have like a supervisor, okay? And then once they don't have a supervisor, they become inactive. And the problem here is that because we do not have a lot of BCBAs and BCABAs, here comes the problem. I cannot take like a 20 or 30 RBTs to supervise. Okay. Like I told you, I'm an independent practitioner. I still have freelance. So even also the others, BCBAs, also there is one BCBA working in the school system. There is also another BCBA, she's working independently. So I think maybe one only working in the center. So this is problematic because who's going to supervise all these RBTs, especially also with the recent announcement from the board, like no one's going to be certified after 2022, It's good that people learn, of course, to know the content about the ABE course and RBT course and stuff like that. But it's not enough,
No. Yeah, that's a big problem.
Yes.
So you've got a lot of RBTs, not many people to supervise them. Are these RBTs just working? Are they working independently, or are they working under BCBAs? Are they just doing their own thing?
Yeah, some of them working in centers, and their supervisors is abroad. It's not in Egypt, And some of them have a supervisor in Egypt. They have a BCAB. Most of them have a BCABA supervisor here in Egypt, and the others have a BCBA supervisors outside Egypt. So also outside Egypt, also, yeah, it's a little bit problematic because they have cases, RBT, they have cases working on a daily basis, so they need a supervision, ongoing supervision. So it's not going to be very useful remotely, the supervision remotely for an RBT is not very useful because they have to have a BCB within their organization, and, to provide the best service for the kids. Yeah. It's not like when a BCBA supervises a BCABA remotely. It's not the same. The BCAB does not need the same amount of supervision and ongoing supervision like the RBT. That's I see a problem.
So the solution is we need more behavior analysts that are certified, I guess.
Exactly.
And
yes,
but
exactly.
the problem is that you just kind of stated is that the BACB is no longer going to be providing certification as of, well, I guess next year. So you mentioned you brought Dr. Michael Muller in?
Yeah.
And so what did he talk about?
We have some questions from the members in ABE Egypt.
Yeah.
I will recall some questions now, so people start to ask. You know what? Also, the question that most people asking, it's about the licensure. Sometimes people are very confused. Oh, when I take this, become certified, so I'm going to be working in any country, so I can go work in any country. I'm licensed and stuff like that. So Dr. Michael Moore starts to talk about the difference between certification and licensure. Licensure, this is something like locally it has to be provided by the government itself or the profession inside your country, but the certification is something, it's not the same. So he started to talk about the difference between these two things. And then also I invited Dr. Michael Moore even before the websites becomes more formally and updated. So people have so much questions to ask, and people also started to ask about the value of the IBAO. Is it similar to the Behavior Analyst Certification Board? And also, also people ask questions about how about the QBA or QABA, I think, qualified. I'm not sure about which one. And also I start to receive more questions about, shall I go for the QABA or shall I go for the IBAO? So people sometimes confuse, especially after the recent announcement from the Behavior Analyst Certification Board. People want to study ABA, but they don't know how to study and from which organization they shall be. Especially we don't have this education in Egypt. We don't have universities that teach ABA. It's not for this science is not formally recognized. We don't have this in universities. We only have psychology, we have education, but we do not have an applied behavior analysis.
Just to give folks some context that may not understand IBAO and QABA. So, as I understand it, I believe the QABA has been around for a little while before this announcement was made. And I believe QABA is qualified applied behavior analyst, something like that is what it stands for. And so that's sort of a separate certification from the BACB. That does things internationally. And then Dr. Muller started the IBAO, which is the International Behavior Analyst Organization. as a means of sort of providing an option for folks outside of North America to gain certification in behavior analysis. Is that basically it?
Exactly, yeah. And also, I'm really convinced of, with a lot of things that Dr. Michael Morrell, when he was talking to the members in AB Egypt, and people, they start to saying, how can we guarantee that it's not going to happen again with the, like it happened with the BCBA after we study and after, And then I'm really convinced that, and we told them always that this is an organization that is established, and the board members there, it's from 22 different countries. It's not only from one specific country. So the requirements and the things regarding to the ethics, and they are coming from a different culture. It's not only from one culture, So this makes people think about it. So it's not only one country that is responsible for this type of certification or this type of certificate. So I think this makes people think that maybe they can, and also what's promising for them, it's like maybe in the future the exams will be in Arabic or in different languages. And also it will be easy for them if later on BCBAs develop their own curriculum for the task list or to be an approved content provider. So because one of the requirements in the IBA, it's not necessarily the universities to provide this type of education, So maybe a BCBA can provide this type of education. Our group of BCBAs can put together a curriculum, an ABA curriculum, and to be approved by the IBA. So I think this will open up more opportunities for ABA to be disseminated in different countries that it's not yet there. And we have more ABA people and we have more behavior analysts. I think and then we can serve more kids. And I think so. I think this is a good idea. And this is, if it comes into reality, it's going to be perfect. I think so.
The second secret word is apraxia. APRAXIA. That's amazing. And so the IBAO has essentially created a behavior analyst credential and a behavior therapist credential, I guess, sort of equivalent to kind of like an RBT. And the idea maybe that BCBAs in other countries could get together, maybe the BCBAs in Egypt could get together and develop a curriculum that could then become certified by the IBAO. And then you could start training people locally.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe my next step, which is very soon, I'm gonna do it. It's like the RBT content. Maybe also it's going to be like an international behavior technician content approved by the IBAO also.
Nice.
Because it's just like a little bit of a variety, just more things maybe to be added or something. And then also it can be approved by the IBAO for people to sit for the International Behavior Technician exam.
Perfect. And so what is Egypt thinking about ABA these days? So what's sort of the perspective on ABA in Egypt? I know you're spreading the word with your Facebook group and with your YouTube channel and those sorts of things. Is that basically the only way right now, social media, that sort of families can find out that ABA is an option for their kids in Egypt?
Till now, that's a very important question, by the way. Till now, there's nothing formal action it's been taken from any of the universities. I tried to approach the American university here in Egypt, but this was a long time ago. Maybe I need to retry again. I tried to approach them, and then they started to tell me that maybe you can try to talk to the psychology department or something, but they didn't take it seriously, And also, I started also to try to approach people in Coventry. We have a university called Coventry. It's a British, it's a British university. And then still, there's no like an action, specific actions taken. Also, just talking, but there is no action has been taken seriously to think about this. And it's for now. It's even about also like our. The other BCBAs, I don't know. Maybe any of them trying to look for something or trying to approach other universities. But till now, I don't think there's a very strong action has been taken seriously or formally for the establishment of ABA in any university. Hopefully this happen one day, but maybe it needs like hard work from us and hard work and more into acceptance, and maybe we need the help of a government or something. I'm not sure, but but I don't know. But I don't think it's a one-man effort, or it needs a lot of efforts from many BCBAs to take this into consideration, or a university that understand what an ABA and the importance of ABA in different areas, not only with kids with autism,
To kind of,
Yes. I did before like a presentation in school, the AIS, American International School in Egypt. I didn't hear before. I talk about the function of the behaviors for teachers and for students, and I think also like one of the BCBAs here in Egypt, she did one of the presentation in one of the universities to the psychology undergraduate. Yes, we did that. But it's just like, it's one event, that's it. But still, we need more work towards a more formal ABA's stuff.
There seems to be quite a bit happening with ABA in and forgive me if my geography is not correct here, but there seems to be a lot of folks that are into ABA in countries nearby Egypt, so like in Saudi Arabia and UAE and in kind of some, I think there's like a little bit happening in Jordan. There seems to be some ABA work happening in these other countries. Has there been any work to try to kind of have everybody kind of connect with each other and have like a more of a kind of an ABA kind of Middle East approach or a Middle East association or anything like that?
Yeah, when the Behavior Analyst Certification Board announced the recent after 2022, all over the place, it's only Canada and America and England. I started to contact people in Emirates, BCBAs in Emirates, and they are teaching there in the Emirates College. And then by that time, they didn't know what exactly they're going to do. But later on, they said, no, they don't think there will be a Middle East organization or something. It's going to be every country on its own. And I think this is what we're starting to see. We started to see in Emirates and we started to see in Saudi Arabia that they are focusing on their country, okay, and they are, because each one of them, they have their verified course sequence over there, and I think they have a master's degree program over there. So, and I think they are working with the Behavior Analyst Certification Board to have some sort of something like approved from the ABAI, or they have more programs than they are already existing. But I think Emirates and Saudi Arabia, they are doing a great job towards the establishment of an ABA programs to be established formally, and more than the programs that already exist there. Yes. From what I see, Ben, is every country on its own. This is what I see, or this is what it appears to us right now.
And yeah, so because there seems to be like the population difference between Egypt and those countries seems to be quite drastic. Like you have way more people, no?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And so, yeah.
Yeah, we have way more people. Also, in Cairo, it's the capital. We have the most advanced universities in Cairo. We have the most wealthy people in Cairo. So I think the investment in something like that, it should be in Cairo also, and later on, maybe we have another, if we have an AB program in Cairo, maybe later on we have another one in Alexandria or different states in Egypt. But Cairo, it has the most number of population. At the same time, it has the most advanced and most wealthy people that they can willing to pay for their education. They can also willing to pay for services for their kids, and because this is the market,
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah. We have here in Egypt, but also one of our problems is that we have to take care of the education more than that. We have to put more effort in education. Yeah, we have to put more investment in education. I think this is also a very big important part, Yeah, because here in our country, like when we want to take our kids to a very good schools, okay, these schools, it should be an international schools. They get teachers from certified teachers from different countries, you know. So I think in our countries we have to put more effort in teaching more people from here in our country to have this better move towards establishment of an ABA programs.
I know that in other countries, and particularly in North America, sort of the reason for the development of kind of ABA programs in universities, and the reason governments are more on board with ABA is because it seems to be a lot to do with parents and kind of parent groups getting together and lobbying government, advocating towards government, sometimes legal action towards government, sort of in the guise of ABA being a medically necessary service. And so there's legislation in place and those sorts of things. And it seems like the work is more on the parents than it is on the professionals. Is there a similar kind of movement happening at all in Egypt? Are parents starting to advocate for better services for autism? Are parents looking for, maybe more ABA services and those sorts of things? Is there anything like that happening?
For the parents that they know about ABA or started to know more about ABA, they are starting to look for services, for ABA services. But for other parents who do not know about ABA or their understanding about the behavior modification and the bad experiences that they are passing before, no, they are not trying to look for for services or for ABA services or behavior modification services. But the people, also people is like, when ABA services also, it's not cheap, it's expensive, So that's also, we don't have here in our country like an insurance to cover those type of services,
right?
Yeah. So this is also problematic. So sometimes like parents, they are trying to look for service, like I told you here, like the people or the wealthy people that can afford some services, or expensive, a little bit expensive services, they are not so much. They are limited. It's not the majority of our people in our country, though, so people needs support. But at the same time, when we are talking about expensive, we're not comparing the hours for the BCBA by the hours in the United States, or the hours here for the RBT with the hours there. No, they are completely different. It's basically depends upon our income here, So they are not comparable,
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Also because there is no insurance, I think when parents try to understand, they try to find places that have ABA services. But these places that have ABA services, they are mostly, you will find it in the most expensive centers in Egypt. You will not find in the very small centers or small organizations or people who do not have this kind of education. Okay, or you will find people say that they are doing ABA, but actually they are not, and they sell their services in a very cheap fees or something like that. That's the thing. Yeah, of course we have a lot of people diagnosed with autism. Of course we have a lot of people diagnosed with developmental disability. So these people and those parents, they need support. Okay, I think also we need to have a more NGO organizations here in our country, so they can help people. Because if we have more of this, so maybe parents can, and also more NGOs with an ABA services. It's not just an NGOs, and we don't know who is providing trainings over there or who is teaching over there. So more NGOs with more ABA based trainings there, and then they can help people with a very low income and middle class people.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, yes, but governmentally, I don't think they are trying to ask for an ABA services through the government or make an advocate. It's going to be something like it's informal, not something formally like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's so different when you go from country to country and kind of how people approach things. Kind of wanted to go back for a second and ask you about the old behavior modification stuff. Being that sort of nobody really knew about ABA in Egypt, how do you think the sort of practices of behavior modification got into Egypt?
You mean early?
Yeah, like
where modification? Or,
where did people learn to try that sort of stuff?
Yeah, if for example if we say then like the old research,
Mm-hmm.
okay, if the old research have some sort of like using a punishment procedures, we have in universities here like maybe you have like a chapter about applied behavior analysis,
Mm.
a very limited chapter like by and research by Lovas and stuff research by that, which is a very very old research.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is what people learn. Okay, and when they join their university, special education universities, studied special education or studied education, they are not updates with the recent research.
Mm.
You know, these sometimes there are some books that is translated, and there are some doctors who translate some stuff in Arabic from the old research, but there is
Mm.
nothing from the recent research. So I think this practice it comes long time ago. Another thing also, we have something here in Egypt with their, some of the practitioners is that they believe that experience is better. In some cases, experience is better than education. Like for
Mm.
example, they say, yeah. So I worked with like 50 kids in like 2 or 3 months. I worked like with 100 kids in whatever, and they do not have that advanced education. They do not learn ABA. They just practice with kids based on their experience, years and years of experience without education, without updated education,
Wow.
without continuing education, CEUs, without knowing what's the recent in the research. So, and then those people at the same time teaching other people. They are making trainings and workshops and teaching. So they're giving what they know, okay, and all their experience to other people, okay. So it's like a cycle. Yeah. So this is what I
Yeah.
believe. That's why sometimes when I do workshops and I do RBT trainings and I talk to people, they always tell stuff like that. They say
Gotcha.
that people, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They talk about their experience.
So kind of really the dissemination of ABA prior to, you and a few other BCBAs kind of starting up in Egypt was Arabic translations of really old like psychology
Yeah,
textbooks from the 70s or whatever into Arabic, and this was basically the only knowledge that the country had on kind of how to affect behavior change was through these really old, outdated, models of intervention.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Definitely, there is a progress from like 4 or 5 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
or yeah, definitely, but not on all the levels and not with all the people. And we when we see even things on social media and people, sometimes people they are very proud of their work and they don't know that what they are doing is wrong.
Right.
But the thing is, yeah, sometimes when people sometimes share their videos and therapists share their videos, they think that wow, they did a great job. But if you look at what they are doing, it's ethically it's not appropriate,
Mm-hmm.
practically it's not appropriate. So and because I don't think they find somebody to teach them the right way. So this is what they learn, and they have excuses for what they are doing. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes those people needs to learn that what you are doing is not correct, so
Yeah.
that there are more advanced procedures, there are more ethical procedures that you can use and you can get the same results.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of work to kind of change people's minds and bring them into sort of the new research. And yeah, I see you just doing a really important work down there in terms of disseminating, the new science, as it were.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. What's next for you? I mean, you've got a Omar's 19 now. You must be.
Yeah,
Are you thinking at all about sort of like what sort of services are available for adults with autism in Egypt?
yeah, that's also a very good question. And it's a very good question. It's very important also as well questions, because like services it's to teach kids, it's very limited.
Mm-hmm.
It's very limited. If you're talking about, let's talk about like organizations like an NGOs, organizations or centers. Definitely all the centers, they are focusing on, most of the centers they are focusing on the early intervention. Okay,
Yep.
we have maybe I'm not sure, like maybe 3 or 4, like these schools that it's a boarding school. They people let their kids sleep over there, and they take very like old ages and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think also this is something good for the kids to be there in these schools, even if they are going to teach them some stuff here. again, because about the quality of the services, the way they are teaching kids over there, or the way they are teaching adults. But, we have a very lack services in this area. It's on all the levels, and even for the centers, which the profitable organizations, the non-profitable organization also very, very limited. Maybe we have like one or two NGOs that can accept kids until like 24, 25, something like that. They focus on the vocational stuff, but also no, we need more. We need more from this, because no, we don't have a lot of services for adults. That's another problem, another area that needs more attention. Definitely also, there's a good things which started to happen from the governmental side regarding, for example, giving like the people with developmental disability and autism and intellectual disability some sort of advantages of having this card. So you can you cannot wait in the line. You have a wheelchair for people with a physical disability. These services having a place in public transportation. So this is good. Yeah, this is definitely something good, and hopefully more of this to be in the future.
Are there anyone doing kind of like employment services for people with developmental disabilities?
What services?
Employment, like, so help them finding jobs.
Yeah, there are like there's here also one of the centers here in Egypt, and is the owner is they have like an NGO. At the same time, she has a center, and also she's actually there are two centers. They're sometimes taking kids. One of them, like my son's school. So they're taking kids, to IKEA and let them go and have training in IKEA. And then the kids there, they try to do the assembled furniture and stuff like that. They enter data. So they are preparing them for employment later on. Okay. Also another NGO, also they're taking kids and they like making them like in McDonald's and coffee shops and preparing coffees and stuff like that. But it's all trainings, it's all trainings. But I'm not sure if people, they are actually employed in these places later on, or these places can help them really hire them. Or even if they hire them, are they going to be hired alone, or they need the support? And who's going to provide this support? The parents will provide the support. Definitely not the government. We don't have this type of services here. It has to be from the parents, and the parents have to pay, so it's the same thing. But they provide some sort of training, a good training they provide, which is something good, but it's not enough. They need more.
The third secret word is services. Yeah, lots of work to do there, for sure.
Yes, a lot.
Yeah. Just kind of thinking about wrapping it up here. What's sort of next for you? What's the next phase for Radwa in your practice and dissemination? What are you working on now? What are some of your goals?
Yeah, my goal. Okay, let me take it like a little bit more. Okay, first of all, my goal or for my son, what I'm hoping to do for my son is teaching him more computer stuff. Okay. So later on, hopefully, he's going to be working with his dad in his office. So hopefully one day, because I prefer to be with his family. I prefer not to leave him, alone out in the community. I prefer he will be with us. So he's going to be much safer. So this is for my son. For me, I hope on the work level, I hope that I can expand my work more. So I have like a place for me, so I can have more, like a bigger place, so I can have train more people and accept more clients. So when I teach, I teach people and help other people and other parents. And this is for my work level. And then I hope for the IBAO level, okay, for the certification start to, hopefully this is one day, but I'm not sure it's going to be very soon, to develop like a curriculum to be an approved course provider or approved content for the IBAO for people to become an international behavior analyst, okay? And not only international behavior technician, because we need more behavior analysts in the future. Hopefully we can work to do something like that. And also one of my wishes is that to teach ABA in universities here in Egypt. So hopefully this can happen one day in one of the universities, and to be approved from the universities here, and to be a good start for ABA to be disseminated in Egypt. So I think this is a very important point is going to be in life.
Nice. That would be amazing.
So hopefully, thank you so much.
Cool. Wow. Well, Radwa, this was a really interesting conversation, and really neat to kind of learn about kind of what's happening in Egypt, what services are like, how you've kind of gotten from being a parent of a child with autism to being, a leader in your country in terms of ABA and autism treatment and services, and the experience of supporting Omar and into adulthood and trying to find him, a good, safe, future and good quality of life. You do so much, and I can tell by the 9,200 members of ABA Egypt that your work is really appreciated. And I think there's so many more good things to kind of come from you in Egypt and for Omar. So thanks again for being on the podcast and for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Ben. It was my pleasure meeting you and talking to you about this.